Hello, and welcome to our podcast on homophones and homonyms. Let's go ahead and get started right away and figure out what these words mean. First, we'll do that by taking a look at the Latin roots that these words come from. The first one is homo, which means same. And then we get a second root in there, phone, which will always mean sound, such as in a phonograph or a telephone. And then the third example we have is nym, which will always mean naming. So maybe in science class you've heard of binomial nomenclature, nome meaning naming. And that's how we named our species. We had binomial, which is, two names, and then nomenclature, which is the idea of naming something. So if we put those roots together, a homophone is a word that is pronounced the same as some other word. Here's what that actually means. They are spelled differently, and they mean two different things, but when they are said aloud, they sound the same. These do cause errors in writing, because if you incorrectly put a homophone into your writing, spell checker will not catch it because you probably spelled it right, but you have used it wrong. So let's see what we mean by that. One of the most obvious is the idea of two, and two. And so a lot of this podcast is just showing you the difference in definitions between these homophones, and it's really up to you guys to figure out how you will memorize these. Now, ideally, many of these are review. I'm pretty sure you learned the two, and two differences back in elementary school, but sometimes we're just not paying attention, we're writing in too informal a voice, we're not giving our papers a once over, something like that. But they do create meaning issues. So just real quick, TO is a direction. TOO either means also, as in I'd like to go to, or it means an excessive amount. I have too much homework. And then TWO means the number. Here's another very common set of homophone errors. There, and there. THERE means location. And the way that I remember that is in THERE is the word here. HERE. And since here is a location, then using the word there spelled with THERE must mean location. So go over there. THEIR means that someone owns something. That is their house. That is theirs. And the way I remember that one is that in that word is the word heir, HEIR. And so you might become the heir to the throne, meaning you own the throne when the current king dies. And so the idea is THEIR shows ownership. And then the last one on this page is there, which is spelled THEY''RE, and that's a contraction with they are. And so all three of these words sound the same. Clearly they are spelled differently, and they do have very distinct meanings. So when we are writing, we need to make sure that we're using the correct form for the correct moment. Weather and weather, again pretty quickly, WEATHER is the stuff that's outside, rain, sun, hail, snow. And weather, WHETHER, means a condition. We will have the test whether or not you have studied. So we will do this regardless of the condition of whether you have studied or not. Okay, so setting up some sort of relationship. Again, two different things in terms of meaning, although they sound the same. Which and which, WHICH, is an adjective, and it basically tells the specific one. So which car is yours? That's WHITCH. And then which with just a WITCH is a scary, creepy lady. And the way that I remember that is that the T in the second which reminds me of a broomstick. And since we all know that all witches fly on broomsticks, the WITCH form has to be the scary old lady. Its and its. This one comes up a lot. Unfortunately, it really doesn't follow the rule that we think it should. So here's what I mean. It apostrophe s means it is or it has. It's a contraction. Okay? Contrast that with the bottom its. An its, meaning no apostrophes, means that it, some inanimate object, owns something. For example, the dog wagged its tail. Okay, the dog we're going to assume is gender neutral. We're not going to give it a him or a her. So we're just saying the dog wagged its tail. Here's the problem. That last line on the slide makes it very clear, I think. Normally, when we show ownership by something, Johnny owns something. It is Johnny's hat. Johnny with the apostrophe s. This violates that rule. We think that if it owns something, it should be apostrophe s. But in this one case, it apostrophe s only means it is or it has. If you need to show that it owns something, then it's just its. And that's a hard one because it breaks the common rule, but our job is to figure out exactly what that rule is and how this one violates that. Whose and whose, WHOSE, is a question word, as in whose is this? And then a WHO apostrophe s is the contraction, who is. Okay? So again, a slight difference in terms of meaning, even though they sound the same. So we really need to make sure we remember what those are and figure out how they can be told differently. So in the next couple of slides, I've broken it down a little bit so that you can just practice on your own with a couple pairs of homophones. This first one is with its and its. And so go ahead and stop this, see if you can place those in there, and then we'll see the answers on the next slide. Here we have some practice with theirs and theirs. The first one showing ownership, and the second one showing location. There is something somewhere. THERE apostrophe S is the contraction for there is. And another little practice set with to, and to. See if you can place these in the appropriate sentences. One more with which and which. All right, so at the beginning of this podcast, we talked about homophones and homonyms. And so often people use these interchangeably to mean two different things grammatically. But let's talk about what a homonym is. Basically, these are words that are pronounced the same. They are also spelled the same, but they have different meanings. And so this does not cause a spelling error when you're writing because we don't know what your intention was. And so these words are spelled exactly the same, although they have multiple meanings. Let's take a look at a couple examples here. One of them is bear and bare. The first example, the table without food was bare, meaning empty. There wasn't anything there. It was bare, B-A-R-E. In the second example, the football player had to bare his shoulders when his jersey was torn. Bare, B-A-R-E, in that case means to show. And so he is showing his shoulders. He is baring them. And so, if you mean to say that it's empty and you wrote B-A-R-E, that's fine. Like, if you meant something else, it doesn't really matter because you did spell and place the correct word in the correct usage. Here's another example, rose and rose. The rose smelled perfect, so that is a flower. And then the other example is he rose for school earlier than usual, meaning he just got up. And so they're pronounced the same. They're spelled the same, but they do have different meanings. And so, see if you can answer these jokes that deal with homonyms and homophones. And so that's it. This is a pretty short one. A lot of this comes down to memorization, really having to remember when we use TO versus TWO, theirs, THEIR versus THERE. They do make a big deal. We can't just use them interchangeably. We have to remember what those rules are. See if you can come up with your own little mnemonic devices, those things that help you remember something, because we do need to get those in there as we move into higher levels of formality with our writing. An error like that, putting in the wrong there or there, will make a humongous difference in how well or not well your paper is received. So take some time right now, figure out how you can remember those, and then continue to practice those as you work on future papers. As always, thanks a lot for listening, and we'll see you in class.